So, Callie, can you share some things about your hand map?
Yeah, during COVID, I really felt like a lot of character development came about. There was a lot of frustration, but at the same time, there was a lot of peace, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And then, along like the hand map, from the questions I asked, what stood out to you the most out of what you had to write? Whether that be like the outside of your hand, like feelings or something that like inspires you, or like something that you like a hardship you went through.
Yeah, so really my parents being on here, they really inspired me to do everything I'm doing now. They had me at a young age and they had to work for everything they have, so I'm really just trying to pay it back to them in a way.
And then, kind of like touching upon kind of family and friends, all that, like going through the pandemic, like what feelings came to mind when the pandemic was happening? And where were you when the pandemic took place?
I was back home on Long Island. I was at a Nassau lacrosse practice, and we found out then that everything was getting shut down. Um, Feelings-wise, I was really just frustrated and confused because I didn't understand what was going on.
Yeah, and then obviously, like people surrounding you, like being family, friends, teammates, they kind of helped you along the journey, like getting through those, getting through the pandemic in general.
Yeah.
And then, so where's home for you right now?
Right now, Charlotte, about 15 minutes away from the school.
And then you said you were born in Long Island?
Born and raised.
Born and raised. And how long have you been in the Charlotte area so far?
Now it's been about 3 months.
And then, so obviously starting in NASA for school, when the pandemic hit, describe like the last 2 years kind of at the start and finish and how the pandemic has like affected you through those 2 years.
So going to online school was real difficult for me. I didn't notice it would be a difficult thing until I had to do it. And I realized I don't really focus well on things unless there's a teacher in front of me telling me what I have to do. And outside of that, it was just getting back into the flow of like not having to wear a mask or just going to work, going to school, just having to go outside. Really just getting back to normal.
And did you work through the pandemic, or were you just kind of just sit at home, kind of not allowed out, trying to be safe?
For the most part, I was outside running,
Fair enough.
keep myself sane. And then we went back to work like 2 months after quarantine started.
And then did you have to wear masks after that? How long, like past COVID, did you have to wear masks, or if you did?
We had to wear masks, I want to say for about 6 months to a year. I think that's right.
And then, so for before that, you had to do school online for over like a full school year and like maybe more.
Yeah, about a year and a half.
And that was kind of like difficult, like interacting with like teachers, students, kind of online. That was kind of a struggle for you.
Yeah.
And then, so other than like talking about the bad things, so what good things did you learn through your experience during the pandemic?
I think it's a good thing that anything can just be taken away from you at any moment, so you have to be ready to adjust at any moment. And I just appreciate my family and friends more because they were there for me when I needed them, and I'm always there when they need me.
Yeah. And then has the pandemic kind of changed your normal routines? Like obviously going to school, kind of playing lacrosse, going to school, doing your schoolwork, back to bed, wake up in the morning, like that whole routine, did that change after COVID?
After, no, I'm still doing the same things I used to do before COVID.
And then were there any kind of long-lasting consequences from the pandemic that you've experienced?
None that I could think of, no.
And then, so how has this experience kind of shaped you as a person? Obviously, going from the pandemic, but kind of learning from the pandemic, and then going back to in-person classrooms, going back to playing lacrosse. Kind of, how did that shape you as a person? Like, what are you feeling now? Are you feeling better about yourself, worse, like things you learned?
I feel better knowing that like things can get taken away at any moment. I'm always trying to just seize every single second I have. We had a saying, it was always carpe diem. It means seize the day, and I think Latin.
Oh, that's nice. I like that. I like that. And then, kind of looking towards your future, what kind of lies in the future for you, do you think?
I'm not really sure. I've always wanted to be a fireman, so that's always in the back pocket. But realistically, I want to start like an organization for younger kids from like towns like mine to get them away from the streets and more into sports so they don't end up in a lifestyle that just doesn't care about them.
And then, so do you have kind of any additional stories or experiences to share about yourself that you've experienced through COVID?
Yeah, through COVID, my house caught on fire the first month of quarantine. I had to go, yeah, I had to go live with my grandmother for a year and a half after that.
How was that?
It was 8 people living in a 2-bedroom house, so it was pretty rough.
Really?
Yeah.
So how did sleeping arrangements how did all that work out?
Oh, and I had 2 dogs at the time.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, so it's just a packed house.
Yeah, it was pretty rough. My grandmother and her husband stayed in her room. My uncle and his kids stayed in his room. And then there was like a big, like open floor upstairs, like in the attic kind of, that me, my mom, and my brother stayed in.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, that's family. That's awesome. She kind of brought you into the house.
Yeah.
And then I was talking about like family, friends, relationships. So like going through like relationships like during COVID, was that like a struggle? Were you able to, if you had a relationship, like how was that working out? Kind of.
It was kind of a struggle. I didn't get to see my girlfriend the whole time. For the first few weeks, I didn't get to see her because her grandmother and grandfather were both like high risk. Her grandfather had like a pacemaker in, so I really couldn't go over there and see her. She just couldn't leave because they were scared about all the germs coming in the house.
Mm-hmm. And then, what effect has the pandemic had on your learning experience? So do you feel like behind, ahead, what you learned from school? And you can touch upon like what you're going through right now if you want to, because obviously that'd be a struggle. If you want to, if not, go good.
So I feel like I'm a little behind, only because like I said earlier, the online school was rough, so I didn't do as well as I wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
And now, because of that, I'm ineligible for the season, so I have to figure something out and go to another school if I want to play again, and I do. So.
Yeah. And you still have like kind of friends, family, coaches supporting you like through that?
Yeah, I have some friends that live near Limestone, and like his whole family moved down there, so I'm pretty much set if I do decide to go there. I've had coaches reaching out to all coaches across the country for me. Feel real supported by everybody. My parents are keeping me like with a level head.
Yeah.
Everything's going, it's working itself out.
So like kind of touching upon that, like through your own personal experience, if you were to look back, would you change anything? And if so, what would you change?
I wouldn't change a thing.
Not change a thing.
Everything that I did got me here, made me who I am.
And then what did you learn? So if you didn't want to change anything, what did you learn from your own personal experience that got you here? Well, like what have you gained? What have you learned? What are you taking with you moving forward into the future?
Don't take anything for granted. Any opportunity you have in front of you, just try and seize it the best you can. I've seen a lot of people like pass in the last few years too, and they were young and healthy, but the drop of a hat, they passed away. So we're here for a good time, not a long time. So seize the moment while you're here.
Yeah. And then so going back to your hand turkey. So I was just looking at what's one thing you've gained from the pandemic, and what's one thing you think you've lost or like struggled with?
Definitely gained being like that calm presence in a room when something's going a little haywire, chaotic. Mm-hmm. I'm usually the person that keeps everybody calm. The one thing I did lose, I'll say, I lost a little bit of my social skills. I'm a little uncomfortable meeting new people sometimes. Just things like that.
Yeah. And then obviously, like, for me, like, this was a big deal so on the outside of your hand, like, surrounding who supports you, and I feel like kind of going through, like, for my personal life, like, family, friends, obviously, like, sports, like, that's obviously a big part of the outside part of myself and what keeps me kind of, like, staying in together. What does it say for you, like, on the outside of your hand? What did you write?
I put my best friend from home. That's been my best friend since, like, 5th grade, and me and him been through everything together. And then I put my parents and lacrosse. Those all keep me level-headed, sane. Just keeps me driven too.
Warren, I'm kind of drawing blanks here, man. I kind of hit everything. You can cut, right? Like, and kind of paste and all that. Okay, good, good. So I get to think where I'm at. I've hit everything.
Well, try going back over some of the questions that you've already asked and see if there's anything about them that you could go into detail with.
Okay, let's try this out. Oh, actually, we're pretty close. Okay, hopefully you hit this. Okay. Was there a time that you stepped in to help someone affected by COVID-19?
My grandmother got COVID like a week after quarantine happened, so I had to help take care of her. My dad's mom got COVID a week after, so I had to go help him take care of her during that. And then the house caught on fire, but then we lived with my mom's mom.
Yeah, and also that was like kind of like a huge toll on like your personal life and like commitment to family and friends. Like, how far away was your grandparents' house compared to yours, like where you were at then?
My dad's mom was probably like 3 minutes away from
3
me,
minutes?
and then my mom's mom was about 5 to 7. Depends on how you're driving.
Do you have any like photos, writing, artwork, or videos related to the experience with the COVID-19 pandemic that you would like to be archived with this project? So whether that be kind of your family like coming together, obviously like after the huge fire, like just anything that you would want to be a part of your hand.
There's a picture of me and my best friend on the beach after we were running, and we felt like we were on top of the world, and
Yeah.
it definitely helped us a lot. So I want that saved forever. I don't know if we took pictures as a family after, but if I have one, I would definitely want that in there too.
What is this? What has your best friend like done for you? Like through, let's start with what has he done with you, for you before COVID? Like, how has he helped you out
Before COVID, we basically just been like emotional support for each other,
Yeah.
and then we just grew closer every time. Like, he had some pretty bad breakups, and I was always there for him. I've had like the COVID things, like he stopped playing lacrosse, and then COVID hit, so it was an emotional toll for me, and he was there for me. So.
And then how about now? Like, well, in the past during the pandemic, like will you guys still be able to like keep in contact, stay close?
Yeah, during the pandemic, every day we would go to the beach and run 2 or 3 miles at like 5 in the morning before everybody else got there.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
We were running 7-minute miles on the beach.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Unreal. And then after now, so obviously, how you guys like connect now? Obviously, you're probably still like further away right now, but obviously, I'm guessing you guys still keep in touch, talk every day.
Yeah, it's weird. Me and him are connected. We had this weird thing, like when we would go out sometimes, we'd be wearing the same exact outfit, same brand, same shirt, and it still happens. Like, he sent me a Snapchat the other day, and we were wearing the same shirt and same pants.
I love
Like,
that. And then like, so obviously going through the pandemic, like what process, almost like transitioning over time, what was the process like transitioning over time as restrictions and recommendations have come and gone? Because like, so how bad was like the pandemic in Long Island? I'm guessing it was.
It was pretty rough. You had a lot of people fighting it, like didn't want to wear masks, didn't want to get the vaccine or anything. Me and my family really just kept out of it and just stayed to ourselves. We really just went as the went as the mandates went. So like, if we had to wear a mask, we didn't like it, but we would wear it.
Yeah.
We didn't, like, the vaccine was necessary for a lot of things. We didn't want it, but we got it, so.
Yeah. Like, I know from my point of view, like, we'd have, like, no mask for, like, a month, and our Prime Minister would call him back for, like, a month, so, like, it was such a struggle, and, like, all of my friends, like, just wanted to go out, like, have fun, and we couldn't at, like, some points, because you could only have, like, 8 people in a house at once, or else it'd be, like, $100,000 fine or something like that.
Something crazy.
Yeah, so obviously it was a big struggle, and then kind of. And then kind of like what I was kind of reaching towards is, what did you miss most during the pandemic?
Honestly, my regular routine, just going to school, going to work, going to practice, just every day, being around all my friends at Nassau, being around my coaches at Nassau, just being able to walk around freely without a mask. just missed like the normalcy, the normal part of the world during the pandemic.
I think that was 15. I can try to go for a little more.
Just for the hell of it.
Just for the
One or two more.
That's one I can do. Okay, so what are some long-lasting consequences of the pandemic? Like, because I know for me, I don't even know if I'm doing this right for the interview, but like for me, it was like my grandpa's like 88 and he's like having heart pumps, so like it's still a thing with COVID going around. Like, do I go see him? Do I not go see him? Do I just keep calling him? So obviously, that has a big toll on my life because I'm very close to my grandpa, so it's hard to go see him. But obviously, what's like your side of the story for that? Yeah, so what are some long-lasting consequences of the pandemic for you?
I can't really think of anything.
Okay. Here, what's the most meaningful thing for you right now on your hand turkey? What do you think kind of strikes you? What kind of, when I was asking the questions, when I asked you questions, you'd be like, wow, like I really had to think about it like that, like that's hard, like that's meaningful. Like what is the one thing that like pops up to you on that hand?
Honestly, moving from New York to Charlotte, I didn't think I was gonna do it. I thought I was gonna get scared and just not do it.
Really?
Yeah, I was supposed to be here last year, but things didn't work out. But just moving here, the process altogether, it still feels surreal that I wake up and I'm in Charlotte. Like, my best friend's not around the corner.
Yeah.
Like, I was pretty scared to leave my family, my best friend, just everything I've grown up knowing, and just picking up and moving here to something completely different.
Well, I actually did not know. That's crazy because obviously, like, it's a huge step, like, moving forward. Like, obviously, for me too.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to be like far away from my home. Obviously, being from Canada, but like, because I wanted to try something new by myself. And once Coach Pano's called me and like, yeah, you're good to come, and I'm like, am I actually gonna do this?
Yeah, I had the same thing. Like, I always wanted to get, like, I went to Nassau, like you said. And
where is Nassau, by the way?
It's probably 10 minutes away from my house.
Okay.
So
that was a very easy kind of switch for you to make.
Yeah, Nassau, out of high school, yeah, it was real easy. But like, the whole time I was like, yeah, I want to get away from home. I can't do this. I don't want to be at home. Now I'm here. I'm like, dang, I kind of miss home a little bit. But
and then looking at your hand, what's one thing that kind of confused, like almost surprised you on what you wrote down? What's one thing you didn't think of that when I asked that question you thought of and wrote it down?
Honestly, the character development that came from the pandemic. So like, just being that calm presence, being the person people need when they're going through something. I'm usually that guy, and growing up, I never thought I would be, but now I am. So just seeing that, it does kind of like make me think a little bit.
Yeah.